Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about moderation almost always beats abstinence when it comes to weight loss. And unfortunately, most people think they need to abstain from foods completely in order to lose weight. But if you zoom out a little bit on your weight loss efforts, you'll probably find that that hasn't worked well for you. That, yes, if you stop eating fattening food, sugar, carbs, whatever thing you pick, if you completely abstain from it, yeah, you might lose weight for a little while, but you're not going to stick to it. That's the key thing. And I think at some point you got to be honest with yourself, because if you've been trying to lose weight for years or decades and what you've been doing hasn't worked, it's probably a good time to try something different. And I think one of the main things you can do differently is to cut the shit with the abstaining completely, the cold turkey, the completely cutting things out, and start to work on moderation. Now, I know I can already hear you, right? Because most people say, well, I can't moderate. If I eat one cookie, I eat the whole bag. And while this may be true right now, if you work on moderating, if you get good at moderating, you can improve at it, because moderation is a skill. And just because you can't do it just when you want to right now doesn't mean you can't develop the skill. I mean, if you sit at a piano, if you've never played piano, you sit at the piano, you can't play the piano. But if you start taking lessons and practicing, you'll be able to. So just because you can't do it at first doesn't mean you can't do it. Just means you don't know how yet. And moderation, I find to be the same thing, that as you practice moderation, right? How do you practice moderation? Well, you practice it strategically and mindset wise, right? You need to develop the right mindset. You need to develop the right strategies that let you become better at moderating your food, at being able to have less of the foods you love, right? That's kind of the idea. And I will take that all day long. I will all day long take having less of the foods I love and being able to be at the weight I want to live at, than either eating all the foods I love and being out of control of my weight, or not eating any of the foods I love and being in control of my weight. So I will take the moderation option all day long. And I find that most people will, because it's the most comfortable, grounded, centered way to live your life, and moderate what you're doing. Because if you try and abstain again, and this is what dieting has taught you, what most likely will happen is you will be able to abstain for a little while. You will completely skip the cookies, ice cream, pizza, carbs, whatever it may be, for a little while. And then at some point you will start again and you will go right back to the same amount you always ate. Remember, you don't need to abstain anyways, right? Weight loss is not about completely shutting down certain foods. It's about reducing your average calorie consumption to the level that it brings you to your goal weight. And you can do that by consuming the foods you love. Of course, you have to consume them differently. But again, most people are going to feel a lot more comfortable when they dial down their favorite foods, as opposed to completely cut them out and never eat them again. So as Thanksgiving approaches, I hope you keep this message in mind. You can go into Thanksgiving and eat your favorite foods and still stay on track with your weight. And the way you do that is you consume those foods differently. You go in there with a different intention, that I'm going to go in more calm, grounded, and make better food choices, but I'm still going to enjoy the foods I eat. And I think if you play around with that mindset and that approach over Thanksgiving, I think you'll be shocked, because it's not that hard to eat better. It's hard to eat perfect. It's hard to be out of control with your eating, but it's not that hard to eat better. And that's what I'm talking about. So I hope this helps you out. And if you want some more support with thinking this way in order to accomplish this, click the link in my bio and go get the free hypnosis session I made for you called The New Thin Me. And it's designed to kickstart your weight loss, your motivation, your excitement about your goal weight, getting excited about it and getting there. So go check that out. There's also a free training. I'm also giving away a Thriving During Thanksgiving training and hypnosis session. So if you sign up today, I'll be sending another email out about that training. Again, the training is 5 minutes long. The hypnosis session is 10 minutes long. And if you listen and watch those two things before Thanksgiving and use it, I think you'll be surprised at how much easier it is to eat well, even during Thanksgiving, which is literally an overeating holiday. But again, when you have the right things going through your mind and the right strategies, what you can do is pretty impressive and amazing. So I hope that helps you out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Any questions are welcome. Any weight loss questions, it could be about Thanksgiving, be about diets, struggles, things that have worked, anything you want to mention. That's what I'm here for. My mission is to help as many people as possible live at their goal weight. And I know a lot of people don't really want to think about weight loss during the Thanksgiving, especially. But that's why I like talking about this during Thanksgiving, because it's a perfect opportunity to really reinforce a realistic approach to your weight. And I think that this is a good litmus test, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to break their diets this week and be off track until January 1st. You do not want to be one of them. Even if you get off track on Thursday or for this weekend, you can get right back on track again. That's the most important thing you can do. Stone July says, how can I sign up? You can sign up if you go to programyourselfthin.com. There is a link right in the navigation to go get the free hypnosis session. And I'm going to put this, I don't know if you'll get this, you're over at Instagram land there. Oh, actually I can add this here. Hold on a second. I'll put the link right in the page for you. And those of you in Facebook land will get this. Whoops. Oh, I'm trouble typing today. I'm freezing. I was outside. It's outside for a little while at a turkey giveaway. A Patriot turkey giveaway. Very nice program they run. So here you go. Did you get that? Hey, there it is. Yeah, so you can go click that if you like. Rob says you do an excellent job. Thanks. Well, you're welcome, Rob. Thank you. Appreciate that. But yes, it's a good time to go get that free hypnosis session, because as I said, I am giving away that Thanksgiving training as well. Thriving during Thanksgiving. And again, one of the main things I like, I know people want to think, who wants to diet on Thanksgiving? Like I just can't think of too many worse things to do than that. Who wants to diet during Thanksgiving? And you don't have to. Right. Again, the Thanksgiving's about moderating. It's about enjoying yourself, obviously giving thanks and gratitude. But for most people, it's about enjoying the food too, but enjoying the food moderately. That's where the sweet spot is. The sweet spot is not in stuffing yourself silly. And I think it's an opportunity to, I just think Thanksgiving is such a great opportunity to practice a different approach to your weight, and to do it on Thanksgiving. I know it's like makes your brain hurt. You know what I mean? It's like, what, Thanksgiving? I'm not talking about losing weight on Thanksgiving. I'm talking about enjoying yourself on Thanksgiving and get right back on track. It's just ideas you don't normally think of. Again, dieters, y'all been conditioned to think in a very ineffective way. I'll put it that way. Jody says, awesome hypnosis session. Thank you, Jody. Yes, that is a great hypnosis session. And again, I give that to you all for free, along with the 5-minute training, and it's good stuff. I mean, it's just, I always say, like, if you get a chance to practice some of this stuff on Thanksgiving, why not? It's free. And you can see how this approach, I think it just really shines because it's one day. So you can really kind of see how it works, because a lot of you are assuming Thanksgiving's coming and you're already assuming you're going to eat yourself silly. So that's the program. You're already programming yourself. I always make this point that with programming yourself thin, you're always programming yourself. So when I program yourself thin, when I show you how to program your mind, technically I'm not showing you, like, I'm not teaching you how to program your mind. You already know how to program your mind. You're already doing it. You've already been doing it your whole life. The difference is that I'll point out how you're doing it so that you can change up the way you're programming your mind, because you're always going to program yourself. You're always talking to yourself, thinking a certain way, reinforcing certain things that lead you to behave a certain way. And when it comes to Thanksgiving, a lot of you are already presupposing and rehearsing and imagining that you're going to eat yourself silly on Thursday, and so you're going to go into that situation. It's a place you've probably been to, people you know you're going to be with, overeating you've already done, and you're already anticipating and imagining you're going to do the exact same thing on Thursday. And so that becomes the pre-programming that when Thursday shows up, you're kind of already in that flow, right? You're already kind of prepared and ready to go to overeat. And so the first step to changing how you eat on Thanksgiving is to change the way you think about it. And you can start to imagine yourself Thanksgiving. What would make it even better? How could I enjoy my Thanksgiving even more? And a lot of times the answer to that question is to eat differently. Enjoy your family, enjoy the friends, enjoy the people and things you're going to do that day. Enjoy the food. But also don't stuff yourself silly. And that's a sweet spot for a lot of people. But a lot of people never really consider that, because we get caught up in the the Thanksgiving trance of just eating so much, that we can barely move. And I get it. I get the joke of it all, and I get it's funny, but is it really feel that good? I don't know. Again, it's a relative term because, listen, if you struggle with weight and struggle with eating, you've normalized to being full. You've normalized to overeating. So that's a thing in of itself. But I can tell you, once you start paying attention between when you overeat and when you eat just the right amount, that eating just the right amount feels so good. And in my opinion, is the real secret to getting the most pleasure out of food. I think what happens is in our culture, we have been conditioned our entire lives to associate pleasure with food with quantity. So if we want more pleasure out of food, we have to eat more. And that's how we think of it. And so the idea that we're going to eat less feels like less pleasure. And the idea that we're going to eat as much as possible seems like the maximum amount of pleasure. But that's not true. It's not true. Because when you eat the maximum amount, you feel like shit. Yes, you do. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, you feel like shit. Stomach hurts, can't move, you're tired, lethargic, you're upset with yourself, you feel frustrated, you feel heavy, you feel stuck. This is the truth of it. And when you eat moderately, you feel lighter, happier, healthier, more energized, and on and on and on. So again, that's a fundamental part of programming yourself then to realize that way overeating is not pleasurable. No, it's not. No, it's not. And you're not going to bullshit me that it is. It's not. You think it is because you've been conditioned to only think about the eating part and not the consequence part. But the second you start to pay attention to the consequences of your eating decisions, it's very sobering. It's very sobering. And one of the first things you'll realize is, holy shit, I've been thinking incorrectly. I've been thinking eating as much as possible is the most pleasure I can have. It's not true. The most pleasure I can have is to enjoy the foods I like and to eat them moderately. That's the sweet spot. Carmen says, love this approach. Have tried literally every other approach in diet. This one seems much more long-term. Yes, Carmen, it is much more long-term. I'm glad you said that, because the biggest thing that separates Program Yourself Thin from diets is our focus on what our goal is. And so every single diet and weight loss program you've all ever done is always about losing weight and getting to your goal weight, getting there. Program Yourself Thin is about living at your goal weight. And those are two totally different things. Let it be known. Because of this, that for most people, most dieters, they're going to give up the excitement and pleasure of the food. They're going to trade for the excitement and pleasure of the scale going down. But the same problem exists, that as soon as the scale stops going down, you get to your goal weight. Now, where are you getting your pleasure and excitement from? This is the big question that dieters have no answer for. And I believe it's the core reason why 95% of dieters that lose weight put it back on, because they never figure out how to feel excited and motivated without all the food and without the scale going down. And that's a core part of Program Yourself Things. We take the weight loss, we wrap it in personal development for exactly this reason, that we need to have our motivation attached to something bigger than just the weight. And this is why I, in front of you today, more than 30 years ago, I lost over 50 pounds. And I'm as excited and motivated and focused on this process for myself now as I was when I was losing weight. And the reason is because I think of this process primarily as one of me becoming the best version of myself. And so a lot of my eating choices, they're not just about what weight I'm going to be at. They're about what makes me feel the best, what energizes me, what makes me feel the happiest, the healthiest, the most motivated, the most momentum, and on and on and on. And so I'm fired up and motivated because every day I keep getting better and improving and growing and evolving. And it's a never-ending path. And it's really interesting and exciting for me. And there's always new things to achieve and new excitements to uncover and unlock. So it's always fresh and new when you frame it this way. Whereas most people make it just about weight and just about getting to their goal weight. So yes, welcome, Carmen. And again, if you're new here, make sure you go click that link and go get the hypnosis session I give you. Again, this week, I'm giving you a free Thriving at Thanksgiving training. It's 5 minutes long. It's 5 minutes. Is it 5 minutes? How am I giving you so much good information in 5 minutes? That's what I'm wondering. Is this true? I'm going to look this up. It might be 10 minutes. Might be 10 minutes. But either way, it's just good information. And I think what I like about the Thanksgiving one is it just gets you thinking. Let's see here. How long is this thing? No, it's 5 minutes. Wow. I'm getting good at my old age. Yeah, 5 minutes. That's a good training because that's got everything in it. Wow. Look at that. Made me think of something else. Oh, I guess I didn't do that. You're weird. Yeah. So go check that out. Because yeah, if you like this approach at all, go test it out for Thanksgiving. Because I love that too. Because not only you get to use the technique and just see how it works and all, but the other thing is that you get to realize that you can even eat better on Thanksgiving. And it doesn't matter. You can stuff yourself silly on Thanksgiving or eat great. It doesn't make a difference. Thanksgiving is not what's controlling your weight. However, it can be a real feather in your cap if you go into Thanksgiving and you make relatively good food choices. Notice the keyword relatively. You're not going to eat better on Thanksgiving than you eat today. Okay. But again, we want to compare how we eat Thanksgiving this year versus how we've eaten in the past. And we want to improve it. Anything's better. Yeah. And the session's 10 minutes. Yes. Jody just said that the hypnosis session's 10 minutes and the video training's 5 minutes. That's a fast video. I'm not going to lie. Cause I go through a lot. There's a number of slides in there. So I must've just flown through that training. But anyways, the key part is in that training is I show you how to use the program yourself then method to program your mind to have a great Thanksgiving. And so it's a nice way to just kind of practice it. So check it out. What's up, Jenny? Jenny says, thank you so much. You're welcome. You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Again, this is a mission in life for me. And those of you that don't know, my father passed away of a heart attack when he was 54. So for me, weight is a much bigger thing than just how you look in your clothes. It really is life and death. How long you'll be alive, your quality of life while you're here. And so for me, this really is a mission. Bookworm says the hypnosis before going to bed didn't work. Dreamt of marshmallows. My pillow was gone. Sometimes you got to listen a couple times. And remember too, and I think this is important, that the hypnosis is very powerful. There's no question, but the hypnosis really is a supplement. I want that to be crystal clear. Something I learned early in my hypnosis career is that sometimes people would look at me like I was going to put a magical spell on them. And while hypnosis can seem magical, it's not magic. I can't just make people totally different just by hypnotizing them. That's not real. Okay. So hypnosis is extremely powerful to reinforce ideas and put ideas in your mind and begin to shift the way you're thinking, feeling, and behaving. But at the end of the day, ultimately, in the program yourself thin world, the core technique is the program yourself thin method, which is really revolves around the reader rehearsal technique. And so this is a technique you use yourself. It's a mental rehearsal technique. You use it at night to program your mind, and it's you doing it. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to run your own mind. I think that's the most important piece of you getting control over your weight is getting control over your mind. And the program yourself then method is built around the reader rehearsal technique to give you that power. And the hypnosis sessions really reinforce a lot of that. So again, in the program, I believe there's over 80 hypnosis sessions that you get access to over the 8 weeks. Well, you get lifetime access to them, but over the 8 weeks, they're kind of dripped out sequentially. So each day you get a new 5-minute one. Each week you get a new 10-minute nighttime one. And listening to those, again, there's good and bad sessions. What can you do? And when I say good and bad sessions for you, right? Some of those sessions are going to hit harder, resonate more than others, So again, I think that's an important point to remember though, because I have the #1 hypnosis program on the planet for weight loss. There's not even a second place. Let it be known. I know all the hypnosis programs and they're clowny. They're fine. I love my colleagues. I appreciate them trying to do what they're doing, but it's just nothing. There's nothing like this. There's no other, I've never seen any other 8-week hypnosis program where you get a new session and 5-minute one every morning you listen to and a 10-minute one at night where you're bookending your day. I've never seen anyone bookend, have this bookend approach like Program Yourself Then does. And on top of that, there's a hypnosis library with over 25 sessions in it. So the library alone is more than you'll ever get with any other hypnosis for weight loss program I've ever seen. But that's just an extra in this program. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to hypnosis and weight loss. And I can tell you that a lot of times hypnosis on its own is not going to do the trick. It certainly helps. It almost always helps because it's going to relax you, calm you down, and you're getting good ideas put in your mind. But long-term, you have got to learn how to run your own mind. It's absolutely crucial. And I don't see any way around that unless you're just really lucky. So keep listening to the sessions. Um, God, I get so much spam. I get so much spam calls and through different apps that it drives me crazy. I don't know if y'all get that. Program says, yes, the hypnosis is great. Loving your daily email info as well. Good. Dreaming of marshmallows. Yeah, I've got weird dreams. I like that. I will. That's something I always say that with the hypnosis sessions, people ask me that a lot of times. They'll listen to them at night before they go to bed or as they're going to bed. Do they still work? Absolutely. Because again, if you were dead asleep and I go and put a hypnosis session on next to you, it's not going to do anything. Okay. But if you're listening to a session while you fall asleep, I think it's magical because you're passing through this hypnagogic state where your imagination's really going wild. And I think it's a wonderful time to hear positive suggestions because you could bring them right into a dream and they may impact you more. All right. What's up, Melancholy? How's it going? Melancholy says, my family is quite hedonistic about food. It's almost rapturous for them, and I just don't get it. I have trouble because my thing is not the food, but the numbing it gives. I have to see everyone on Thursday, and I'm not looking forward to it. I'm sorry to hear that, Melancholy. I know there's a number of people out there, too. We get the positive side of holidays sometimes, but for a lot of people, there's also kind of a downside. People you're going to be with or people that you no longer can be with, so I understand that the holidays can be a double-edged sword for a lot of people. I think you're on the right path though, Melancholy, by kind of reflecting on it, and again, in Program Yourself Thin, we follow the goal weight pyramid, and it really starts with the mindset and moves up into eating. But the number one thing with eating is awareness. And so for you, Melancholy, I think you're right on that right path of becoming aware and paying attention to how your family, what your family's relationship with food is, and noticing that the hedonistic nature of it, you know what I mean? Like this obsession with it, right? As you pay attention to it, sometimes in some ways that can be curative because it starts to illuminate some of the challenges you might be dealing with by either saying, oh, I have that, or I don't really have that. It's more about numbing for me. But either way, you're developing awareness. And we want to develop awareness initially because we use that awareness to kind of drive us towards the solution, So my big question, or I guess I would say to you, Melancholy, I'm going to assume you're already signed up for the hypnosis session. I know you must because you're here regularly. So I know you've gotten the hypnosis session already and got my email list. If you haven't, you should. But anyways, I made a Thanksgiving training and a hypnosis session, but I would definitely watch that training and listen to the session. It's about 15 minutes, but it will address a lot of the things you're kind of dealing with. And right to the point of, I have to see everyone on Thursday. I'm not looking forward to it. Even in that situation, we talk about that even because that's a common thing. A lot of people, again, there might be certain family members you don't want to be around, so again, you can love people and not want to be around them. So I get it. But the big question is not to in your mind keep imagining the worst case scenario because that's what we tend to do. Right. So it's not unusual. Maybe the last Thanksgivings are typically stressful. Let's just say, for example, there's a lot of, combativeness and anger and just issues, whatever. It doesn't matter. Everyone's got different situations. But Thanksgiving, you don't really love it. People there trigger you, all this situation, whatever. And so if that's the way it's kind of been, what happens is your mind reflects and remembers how it has been in the past, and that projects on the Thursday and says it's going to be this way Thursday. And so now what happens as we move closer to Thursday, well, we feel stressed now because we're thinking about Thanksgiving. We're thinking about how stressful it's going to be, how tense it's going to be with all parts we don't like. And so even now, a couple days as it approaches, we're stressed. Imagine ourselves overeating. And so we're programming ourselves. We're literally imagining Thanksgiving being stressed and overeating. Thanksgiving comes, and what do you know? It's stressed and overeating. So I understand there are real issues. Okay. So I'm not saying you're just going to ignore and pretend like everything's just going to be great. What I'm saying though, is say you've got, that relative who's needles you, let's just say. And so instead of just assuming that that relative is going to needle you and you're going to get upset and then eat everything in sight, take a step back and say, okay, I know there's this relative who kind of needles me and annoys me and triggers me. How can I deal with it more effectively? That's the cornerstone of the whole approach. It's to give yourself that little bit of space to say, wait a second, I'm a full-grown human here with a full-grown human brain. How do I want to handle this stressful situation? How do I want to handle this asshole? You know what I mean? Even your family. How do I want to handle that? What's the best case scenario for me handling this situation I don't want to deal with? You see, so we're acknowledging it. We're acknowledging it. We're not pretending. We're not saying, oh God, oh no, oh no. We're not living in the misery, projected misery of it, remembering the past and how much it sucked and projecting the future. We don't want to do that. Okay. We want to start asking questions like, how can I handle this situation the most effective way possible? And what that is, that's a solution-oriented question. We're focusing on a solution to it. What could be a challenging situation? We'll acknowledge that there's challenging situations. And then we're going to ask the magic question, how do I want to deal with that? What's the best way for me to deal with that? And that's the question most people never answer, because before they ever get close to that question, they've already got sucked into the drama of the scenario. And so a lot of you are dealing with that too. You got kind of dramatic, triggering, unpleasant situations you're heading to on Thursday, and you're dreading it the whole time. That's where you want to stop. Acknowledge the challenges, but then ask the magic question, how can I deal with that more effectively? And if you think that way for the 3, 4, 5 weekdays before Thanksgiving, how can I handle that person the best? How can I do this the best? How can I eat the best? How can I do this best? How can I make it easy? How can I make it enjoyable? If you keep asking questions like that, you reveal new strategies, new approaches, a new mindset. It's life-changing. It frees you out of the prison. You see, this is such a good example of understanding that we all live in our own little mental prisons. When it comes to weight loss, you all live in a diet prison that was put there by the diet industry, but you can escape it quickly by thinking differently. That's the beauty. Right? And Melancholy says, what I love about you is how you deliver such powerful truth with kindness. Thank you for that. You're so helpful. You're welcome. And I appreciate you saying that. And that's nice to hear. And I like to think that is something I'm okay at. Again, I've done over 6,000 private weight loss sessions. So, you do things you do a lot of, you tend to get better at, so I appreciate you saying that. And I wish you the best for that too, Melancholy. And I hope you really take what I said to heart. And I really hope you go and get the training in the hypnosis session. Folks, I'm giving it all to you for free. Okay. Just click the link in my bio or go to Program Yourself Thin, get the free hypnosis session. Take you 10 seconds to sign up for that. And then for the next couple days, today I'm going to send it. Tomorrow I'll send it. Probably Thursday morning I'll send it. I'll send you a link right to this training. It's free. It's a 5-minute video training I made for you. Again, I'm racking my brain for how I got so much training put into 5 minutes, but okay, it's really good stuff. And then there's a 10-minute hypnosis session you can listen to. Test it out. No. Yeah. But yeah, if you're all worried about Thanksgiving at all, you should definitely test it out because you get to see firsthand how it works. But if you have any questions, Jenny says, hi, 62-year-old woman, semaglutide peptides have changed my whole life on every level, body, mind, and spirit. Great. Super duper. I am definitely what am I going to say? I'm not a huge fan of the GLP-1s, you know what I mean? But I respect their power. And I think that they're another option for a lot of people, so I know you hear a lot of glory stories about those medicines right now. And I have people in the program that are on them, they're using them. So I'm here to be supportive at all times. But I just want to push back a little bit because, hey, listen, it's a Program Yourself, it's my podcast. So I'm talking about natural, holistic ways to change your weight. And so that being said, I'm going to give a counterpoint to when I hear glory stories. And so I appreciate you, Jenny. I appreciate your story and your experience. I love that. But for the people, because I know weight loss so well, that I know people that are struggling to lose weight will hear a thing like that. And again, Jenny, I have no reason to believe that Jenny is not a real person who they are. But I've been doing this for a while too. And I also get bullshitters as well. I have no reason to not believe Jenny that the GLP-1s have completely changed her whole life and amazing. That being said, though, is even if you said here, so I've been doing keto and then I've lost 50 pounds, it's changed my whole life. I push back the same way that, because I was wanting a counterpoint to this, that again, I have nothing against GLP-1s. However, when you see some glory story about it, you have to understand there's a context there, and so yes, for a lot of people who have been struggling with their weight forever to do the semaglutides, it feels amazing. So for the first time in their lives, they're not thinking about food constantly. Okay. And the diet, the pharmaceutical industry would make you think that that's the only way in the world to change food noise, to change the way you're eating, to change your weight. And that is not true. That is not true. You have to understand the entire population, the way they're trying to lose weight is dieting. So dieting without question is a established failure. It does not work. They've studied it for over 100 years. Dieting does not work. But the only way people ever try and lose weight is dieting or surgery, and now or the semaglutide. And so dieting doesn't work. We know that, but that's the only way people have ever tried to lose weight. When is the last time that you all even heard about approaching your weight with a mindset, lifestyle, eating based approach? And the answer I already know is never. And so I respect that the semaglutide was so life changing for you. But at the same time, there are downsides to it. The downsides being the obvious ones, I think, that you have to stay on it forever or else the weight comes back, that, you haven't transformed the inside out. You have to take this medicine forever. It's expensive. It may be inconvenient. And at the end of the day, you didn't really learn any of this stuff. So I say as a counterpoint to that everything has costs, everything. And as I was saying yesterday, Program Yourself Thin has costs. The costs are that it takes effort and energy and work to learn all this and to do it. This is the blueprint you go through, 144-page blueprint. So yes, that's work, that's effort. Program Yourself Thin is not for everyone. It is for people that are overachiever, perfectionist, action-taking people. But that's the cost there. But again, to put a Program Yourself Thin success story against a GLP-1 success story, Program Yourself Thin smokes them every single time because it's an inside-out transformation where you're truly learning how to think, live, and eat like a thin, healthy person in a way that really resonates with you for the rest of your life. So I say that just to give a little bit more context, but good for you, Jenny. I'm happy for you. And I hope, I wish you continued success with it. Jude says your way is too complicated. That's fair too. That's totally fair. I get that. And I think that's true. And I don't even I'm not trying to hide that. And part of the reason I do this too, I really do it for, this is a mission for me, you know what I mean? But, I know for a fact Program Yourself that isn't for everyone. I know this for an absolute fact. And that's why I say I'm not against GLP-1s. I think, GLP-1s for someone who doesn't want to put the time, effort, or energy into this, right? Then I think GLP-1s are your best bet. I think the GLP-1s are better than the surgery for sure. So, again, I see things within context and I've got my opinions on it, but who cares? You know what I mean? There's a lot of people in the world. So yes, my way is too complicated. For a lot of people, it absolutely is. I would not disagree with that. I think it's a certain type of person that thrives in Program Yourself Thin. And I make that very clear from the beginning. I never sell this as just like, magical success. I make it very clear what you're getting and what's going on there. So I appreciate that, Jude. What's up, Sherry? Sherry says, that's so true. How can I get the most pleasure out of the food is so much deeper and so much more helpful. It's changed how I celebrate for sure. Yeah. And Sherry's in the coaching program. So we were talking about that. And it was fun to see you use that firsthand in real world things. Sherry used that during her birthday when she went out to eat for her birthday. And it's a very powerful strategy. How can I get the most pleasure out of food is such a magical question because most people just assume the answer to that is to eat as much as you can. And it's not true. And once you realize that and internalize it, it is quite a transformation. So I appreciate you sharing that, Sherry. Kathleen says, what is your view on intermittent fasting, blocking 6 to 8 hours a day to eat? Again, it's one of those things, the golden rule of Program Yourself Thin is there's no right or wrong. There's only what works for you. And so I've met enough people that have thrived on intermittent fasting to know that if you love intermittent fasting, if you love only eating for 6 to 8 hours a day and you look forward to it and you love it and you're feeling great and you're getting great results, then knock yourself out and do it. Program Yourself Thin is really about figuring out a way that you can live with long-term so that you can stay at your goal weight forever. And so that being said, most people that I've dealt with, now you have to understand, I've got a different point of view because I got the people that intermittent fasting was not the right answer for. Right. So I got kind of a certain view on it, but I think for a majority of people, intermittent fasting is too extreme. It's too intense and they jump into it too fast. And so from what I see for most intermittent fasters that I work with, now it's the people that didn't work for, is that they tried they tried intermittent fasting, and what ended up happening is the last 3 hours of the fasting, they would start getting obsessed with food. They were starving, they were hungry, they were stopping themselves from eating. So when the window started, then they were overeating. And so in a weird way, intermittent fasting, if it works for you, great. But if it doesn't work for you, very quickly can start to become a training ground for binge eating. So watch out for that too. And I think the big issue I have with intermittent fasting, now I intermittent fast. I don't call it that because I figured this out a long time ago. I call it nighttime fasting. I don't fast for the magical 16 hours, which is bullshit anyways. I will usually stop eating around 6, 7 at night, start eating around 7 o'clock the next day. So I get about 13 hours maybe, but I organically, naturally came upon that over 30 years ago, and I built up to it. So I started saying, I used to eat pretty much right up until bed. And I said, okay, let me make that a bigger time frame. So I'll stop eating earlier before I go to bed. And I made that time bigger and bigger until eventually I stopped eating around 6, 7 o'clock at night and go to bed. And so, but I worked up to it. And that's the magic. When people diet, and again, you have to understand, I'll use this as an example. The problem with dieting is not the diet itself. The reason all the diets fail, every diet, by the way, every diet fails. There's not even one outlier. There's not one diet that rises to the top as being effective. Isn't that a crazy idea? 100 years of dieting, there's not one diet that stands out as the best. You could make an argument for Weight Watchers, and it's simply because they have a social component too, by the way, because Weight Watchers' philosophy of diet is nothing. It's goofy. You're basically just counting points with fancy colors, and you're making it like a game more, but there's no there. The thing about Weight Watchers is the social component. And so you can make an argument that's the most effective diet ever, but there's no effective diet. If you think there is, please write it in the comments. Tell me the effective diet if you think there is one. There is not. Okay. And so, the problem with dieting though is not the specific philosophy of it, right? So the reason keto sucks, vegetarian sucks, vegan sucks, South Beach sucks, Weight Watchers sucks as a diet. If we're talking about diets, the reason they all suck equally is because of your diet or mindset. So it's not the philosophy of what they're telling you. You might have carnivores saying just eat meat. You have a vegan saying just eat vegetables. They're both equally bad as a diet, because as a dieter, you're going to jump into each of them 100% on day one, right? And so if you're going to do carnivore, you're going to just eat meat starting day one. That's it. You're going to do vegan. You're just going to eat vegan food from day one. That's it. There's the core problem of dieting, is you're going to jump into it 100%. And so people do intermittent fasting. Of course, they can't ramp up. They got to dive right into it. And I can even hear, even 6 to 8 hours. So now we're going to go from eating, 12 hours a day to eating 6 hours a day, which is a 50% reduction. That's extreme. That's very overwhelming to the system. It's a huge shift and shock to how you live. And so I think that's a core reason why most people can't stick to it and don't stick to it. So again, the process of intermittent fasting, I think, is wonderful. I think giving your body a break from eating for an extended period of time, I think, is one of the greatest gifts you can give your body. Approaching intermittent fasting as a dieter, I think, is terrible, and it's not going to work. You will do it, you will get sick of it, and you will stop doing it. That's most likely the path that awaits you if you attempt that. That's the path that awaits most people. Now, there are some people that do it and they thrive with it and love it, and great, good for them. So go test it out. If you love it, stick with it. If you don't love it, realize it doesn't work for most people anyways, and consider everything I said and move forward with it. Karen says, true, I've been dieting since I was in junior high. Now at 60, I'm finally eating like a thin person. I've lost 30 pounds since June 2024, 15 more to goal weight. That's so awesome, Karen. Proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And I love hearing these stories. That's the majority of my clients are between the ages of 55 and 65, I would say, if I did narrow it down. Most of them, almost all of them, are between 45 and 70. But it's my favorite thing. I live for this. People that have been struggling for literally decades, most of their lives. Your story, unfortunately, Karen, is so common. I can't tell you the number of women I've worked with that have started dieting when they were in junior high. I can't even tell you how many started when they were 12 years old. Their mom would bring them to Weight Watchers, and but those are the people those are the people I do this for. I'm telling you, because it's the people that they never give up. They're willing to put the work in, but they've just never been shown the right way to do it. And it's so exciting to me to watch people that have been at this for 50 years failing, all of a sudden get a handle on things and really start the transformation. So I appreciate you sharing that, Karen. Thank you. Cashfed says, how do you eat like that? Do you work out? I'm not sure what you mean. How do I eat like what? The way I'm able to eat the way I eat at my goal weight is through practice. I practiced. And I know that's a weird concept when it comes to weight loss and eating. The idea of practicing seems strange because dieting teaches you that you already know what to do. You just need to get yourself to do it. Just force yourself. I don't ascribe to that at all. And I think it takes practice. Working out, I work out now very little. I mean, I do push-ups and stuff, but I have not worked out consistently for over 30 years. I've not dieted once over in 30 years, and I've stayed at my goal weight the entire time. So you don't need either one of those. You don't need diets or workouts. Cashfit says, I lost all my weight very aggressively and now I have an ED. Do you have any advice? Yeah, I mean, that happens, you know. I mean, my advice is that I'm focused on the long term. So I don't give a shit about short-term weight loss at all. I'm not impressed by someone losing 50 pounds in a month. And the whole diet world is. And it's not your fault. You've been conditioned your entire life to really measure the weight loss plan and how fastly you lose the weight. So you've been conditioned to really focus on the short-term weight loss as opposed to long-term success. And that's the core part of the mindset problem. You need to shift your perspective because there's no end. You know what I mean? There's no rush. Jesus Christ, what's your rush? You know, there's no, it's like if you're going to brush your teeth and it's like, I'm just gonna brush my teeth so good tonight that I don't have to brush them again. That feels weird in that context, right? But your weight's the same way. How long do you want to live at your goal weight for? Right? And I know you want to live there forever. So this is a forever marathon. And so realize that, accept it, and then move forward with that knowledge that this isn't about how fast I can lose the weight. It's about how long I can lose the weight for, you know, and you can only lose weight long-term if you are able to do what you're doing long-term. If you hate what you're doing, you're not going to stick with it, you know? So my advice is to start thinking longer term, and that cures a lot of stuff. What's up, Vicky? Vicky loves these perspectives. Oh, you like the color of my shirt? Yeah, it's a nice one, right? It's so soft too. This is a comfortable. It's good too. I told you I was outside. It was cold. It's not even that cold out. It's 44 degrees and I'm feeling like it's freezing, but anyways. What's up, Mario? Mario says, I've noticed the more I care about losing weight, the more obsessed with food I am. It's so weird. Not unusual. not unusual at all. Getting obsessed with losing weight absolutely triggers a counterintuitive response. I've noticed that. Paradoxical. That's why in Program Yourself Thin, I do everything I can to make the weight loss secondary. The more you focus and fixate on the weight, the harder time you're going to have, almost guaranteed. I've got something poking me with this shirt and I'm about to freak out. Does anyone ever have that? Like the seam of my t-shirts lately, it's like someone has implanted like a dog hair in every seam of my t-shirt. It was driving me insane. I literally threw a shirt out the other day. It was like a new shirt too. I liked it, but I was like, I've tried now 6 times. I washed it. I couldn't get rid of this thing. Look at it. Look at the light. Couldn't find it. So forget, I'm getting rid of this shirt. Now all of a sudden this shirt's doing it. I wonder if it's me. What's up, Christy? Christy says, see my sister-in-law on a GLP-1 and she hasn't changed her nutrition at all. She's eating candy and drinking alcohol, but she's skinny. What happens when she goes off? She's learning nothing. For me, I'd prefer to work with my mind. I get it, Christy. And again, I'm not judging anyone. Everyone gets their own path. And I'm happy for anyone, any path they're walking. But those are real questions. A lot of people on the GL1, it's an easy way. I get it. Everyone loves easy stuff. Obviously, I understand that. I think we're going to find the GLP-1s are not as easy as we thought they were. You know, part of that is just the history of weight loss. You know what I mean? Come on. We've seen this so many times. This stuff's different. No doubt about it. GLP-1's different, but it's not a perfect thing. And I always say this, that the GLP-1s right now at this moment in time in history, this is the best you're going to think about the GLP-1s because they don't have the full effects of them yet. You know what I mean? And so the negative stuff is coming. The first big negative thing of GLP-1s is that you get 16 months of weight loss. That's not well put out there. Okay. But all the studies, all the different GLP-1s have shown 16 months on average of weight loss. And then that's that. Now you have to stay on GLP-1s forever to maintain what you've lost. Now, for most people, that may not make a difference, but if you're starting at a high weight, 16 months of weight loss may not be enough to get you to your goal weight. And so that's tough shit. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a number of people that start obese, end up obese, and now they have to be on a GLP-1 forever to maintain an obese level. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is, we don't know what the subtle other effects of GLP-1s are. We don't know. But the big one that I always think about with the GLP-1 is that I get, like, when people are losing weight, they don't give a shit. Okay, so people go on GLP-1s and they start to feel kind of nauseous. They dial it down a little, so they're just below nauseous, but you always feel full. So think about this. We've all been there, right? So imagine when you feel full and you're not nauseous, but you're not hungry at all. And the idea of food, you're just like, okay. Now imagine feeling that way all the time. Now let's imagine your life and you're going to go on vacation. You got to go to a fancy restaurant for a birthday dinner. You got to have your aunt's going to make her special meal that she makes. So now you're looking at a life where you never really enjoy food. How much do you enjoy food when you're full? So this is something I think about a lot, because I think a lot of people use food emotionally, good and bad. Okay. But I think it's a core part of being a human. Now, I think it's so new. People don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care about my aunt's pie. Who gives a shit? I'm losing weight. I get it, right? Again, we will give up the pleasure and excitement of the food for the pleasure and excitement of the scale going down. I get that. But at some point, you're going to get to a place where the scale stops going down. Okay. And so now the excitement of losing weight leaves. Now, I know what you think. You say, Jim, I'm going to be at my goal weight. I'm going to be so happy and excited every day that I'm at my goal weight, that's going to be the motivation. If that was true, then why do 95% of dieters that lose weight put the weight back on? And I will tell you that is an illusion. That's not true. There's a thing called hedonic adaptation. You've experienced it with your car. You got your car in the first month. It was like, oh my God, my new car. It was amazing. Eventually it became your car. You moved into your new place. Oh my God, I'm in a new place. Eventually became a place you lived. We normalize. And so people are going to normalize to their new weight. And now they're going to live this life where they never get to look forward to really enjoying food the way they used to. That's my big concern. We'll see what happens, because we're getting to that point. We are right about now hitting that magical point where a lot of people are at 16 months. And so we're starting the real phase in my mind is where we get to the point. I want to talk to people that be on GLP-1 at their goal weight for a year, 2 years. Those are the people I want to talk to. And I want to see, because you have to, there's a cost to everything. There's nothing is free. And so Jude says, well, your shit seems complicated. I'll take that. I bear that. Okay. But GLP-1, we can't just make it see. It's not a miracle. It's miracle-like. I'll give you that. But it's not a perfect solution, because you're walking around feeling full. You're walking around, all of a sudden you have no food noise, but you have no food enjoyment like you used to. That's good for weight loss, granted. That's a different quality of life. That's a different way of going through life. And I don't think people have really thought about this yet. And we will see. We will see. I know with Program Yourself Thin, we'll have to deal with this. I went away a couple months ago, went my birthday, went to a big fancy Italian dinner. It was amazing. Recently, I just started making sourdough. It's amazing. So I enjoy food. If I would say as much, but I think I enjoy it more. I enjoy food as much, if not more, than I ever have. And I'm at my goal weight. I think that's important. If you care about food, people say, Jim, I can never do what you do. I love food too much. Bullshit. I love food. I love food. But I love being at my goal weight too. I found the sweet spot. That's where I live. GLP-1s, I don't know. So I'm curious about this. And don't tell me this, if you're currently losing weight on GLP-1, I don't want to hear you say, I love food. It doesn't matter to me. I don't want to hear that. Again, you have to understand, I'm not being a jerk to GLP-1 people. Back to, I don't give a shit about fast weight loss. Program Yourself Thin is built on the backs of people that have lost weight and kept it off for at least 2 years. That's the big difference. Over 30 years ago, I began studying those people that had lost weight and kept it off. Those are the people I got obsessed with, because I'm obsessed with living at your goal weight, not getting there. So the same things with GLP-1 is going to be a maintenance. I know it sounds strange. Maintenance is going to be an issue with GLP-1s. We will see. Because once you stop losing weight, that injection, that money, that feeling is going to take front and center stage. Right now it's second stage because you're just focused on the weight loss. So I don't know, that's real stuff and we'll figure it out. But we got to take it into account. Taja says you can do it side by side, even if you're on GLP-1, as you do need a philosophical attitude to food, which is what you have. So together works best. Yes, I agree, Taja, 1,000%. And I respect the people in my program that are on GLP-1s learning this way. I think that's smart. I think that sets you up for success. I want people to do everything natural, but I get it. I am not anti-medicine at all. And so I think it's a smart move to do GLP-1s if you're going to do them, and to do a mindset component as well, because the GLP-1's not changing your mindset. It's lowering your food noise. It's lowering your hunger. That's it. It's not teaching you how to eat different. It's not teaching you how to run your mind. It's not teaching you how to become a better version of yourself. It's not teaching you how to deal with your habits, deal with your emotions. It's not doing that stuff. And I think that's important stuff. Let's see here. Yep. Jonna says patience is also key. Absolutely. Patience is absolutely key. Rebecca says, if I'm in a steep calorie deficit, do I need a maintenance break? I'm 200 pounds overweight. I mean, honestly, if you're doing steep calorie deficits, I think you're going to need all kinds of breaks. I'm probably the wrong person to ask this question. I was just describing this today. I'll describe it with a brand new metaphor for you. I was speaking with someone who just had a big surgery and belly surgery on top of it all, right? Colon surgery. And so it's been months of their hunger being off. Okay. And so I said, this is metaphorically the same thing dieters do, because you can think of your hunger like a pendulum. Okay. And if we do a steep calorie deficit, it's kind of like we're holding the ball. Oh, steep, big calorie deficit. At some point and now because you built up so much energy, now it goes up like this. So steep calorie deficits to me are like this. Getting a surgery and having your hunger be all weird for a little while, your hunger's like this, okay? Because you weren't hungry at all for months, and now all of a sudden your hunger's coming back, and now you're gonna be extra hungry. Everything's relative. So if you're gonna do a steep calorie deficit, you're all excited now because you're losing weight probably, but then at some point you're gonna start to feel the effects of that steep calorie deficit, and it's gonna break, and now you're gonna go on this other side, and your hunger is gonna go wild. So I don't know how to deal with that, other than me and Program Yourself Thin. We're looking to avoid this pendulum swing, and we're looking to create this pendulum swing. Let's reduce 10 to 20% of your calories. Now we're staying in this little manageable level. I think as soon as you start over restricting, it leads to overeating at some point. I've never seen an alternative to that. I personally have never experienced an alternative to that. So to me, when I want to lose weight, I'm looking to 10 to 20% it. I'm looking to stay under the radar. So yeah, I'm sure you'll need a maintenance break at some point. You're probably feeling, I don't know how long you've been in a steep calorie deficit, Rebecca, but you're probably starting to feel this builds up tension. The longer we stay up here, right? So steep calorie, this is 10% calorie deficit, 20% calorie deficit, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% calorie deficit. And you're building up all this pressure. And at some point, it just feels really hard to do. And if now we're over here, maybe that won't be the case. I hope it's not, but it just seems like you're setting that up. That's my thought on that. Yes, I said, I was working on it. Merle says, I cannot restrict. People say that all the time, and I don't know what you mean by restrict. Could you restrict 10% of your calories you typically eat? Yeah, you could. Could you restrict 20%? Yeah, absolutely. I can't restrict. You can restrict, right? First of all, you're probably thinking restriction. It's way too much, right? That's probably what you mean specifically. So, that's how I'd look at that. Lina says the price of GLP-1 every month for live. Yeah, for life. Yeah, I agreed. And I will tell you one other thing about GLP-1s, if you don't know, because we're in the very beginning of it. And I know for a lot of people, one thing they're anxious about with the GLP-1s is the price of them, and that it can be taken away, somehow. And I will tell you, the price is not stabilized at all, because what's gone on, I know this, I'm a town meeting member, so I get to hear what's going on in the town here. And one fascinating thing that happened is over this last year, 2024, health insurance went up 40% in our district. Okay. So for all our town employees, teachers, we pay health insurance for them. Health insurance went up 40% in a year. The primary cause of that increase was the weight loss medications. Okay. So they were very liberal in prescribing these. This is what they do. They get you hooked on stuff. Okay. But now we looked at that. We said, we can't afford it. We can't pay that. So now we go back to the insurance company. You can't cover those anymore. So I got a feeling you're going to see a lot more of this because insurance companies, I mean, they're skyrocketing for a number of reasons, but this is a big driver is these weight loss medications. They're very expensive. And so I think, if you're on them and they're being supported insurance wise, if you don't have, type 2 diabetes, if you're doing this purely for weight issues and you don't have, medical reasons underneath it, I don't know. I mean, the writing's on the wall that it's very expensive to cover these. So I don't know. We will see. So, Sue says, I've started to really plan my 3 meals a day, no snacks and one sweet thing after lunch, and really focused on feeling satisfied until next meal and going for a walk daily. At least I feel I will succeed. Well, Sue, you must be in the program or you just listen a lot. That's our whole plan. That's our whole program. That's wonderful. And again, the one thing I want to share with you, Sue, I'm glad you feel like you will succeed. I think that's wonderful. And the other thing I want you to remember, though, is that this is a practice. You're figuring it out. The key thing for you, Sue, is to realize that you don't know. You're not sure exactly how to eat that really works for you. You're figuring it out. And I think that's a big distinction for people because I think a lot of dieters think they know everything they're supposed to do. And then they get in the mode of just trying to force themselves to do it. When the reality is that you have to figure out what you're doing, what really works for you. So great job, Sue. Super proud of you. That is a wonderful strategy and approach. Lucy says, stopping maybe yes, being bigger than my belly has helped. Smaller portions has helped so much. Yes, smaller portions is really part of the way to go, right? Portion control, obviously. But the way you're practicing and developing your ability to portion control more effectively is the key, okay? Do it strategically and you'll be shocked at how much better you can get at it, Like it says, they're expensive like other name brand pharmaceuticals because of big pharma. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an expensive medicine. You know what I mean? Like it's complex, it's expensive, it's branded. So it's not good. There are going to be generics of it anytime soon. It's a whole thing, but it's expensive and the insurance industry is going to correct for that. They're not going to pay for it unless people are going to pay for it. And like I said, I'm just giving you on the ground stuff. The second we heard that 40% increase and we dove into it, that was cut it off. We can't pay for it. You can't pay 40% for that. And so we cut it right off. So again, this is going to happen across the country to some degree. So I know there are people worried about their supply of GLP-1 and the cost of it. And I think that's a legit fear, Mary says, my friend lost 100 pounds on GLP-1, has to stay on it and take an anti-nausea med to eat. Yes. There you go. So again, losing 100 pounds is really good for you. Okay. So that's why I'm not against GLP-1s. You're not going to hear me say, don't do it. Okay. I'm going to give you context because I think everything's contextual, but that's the main point. It has to take an anti-nausea medication to eat. That's what I'm talking about. So again, we have not gotten to the point, and people don't think this way anyways, but we haven't gotten to the point with the GLP-1s where we're getting a big population of them who are taking them to lose weight specifically, right? Because remember, GLP-1s were designed for diabetics, type 2 diabetics. And it had the effect that it helped people lose weight across the board, but they haven't done large scale trials of people just using it for weight loss. This is a real-time trial happening in real time. And I think one of the big issues is going to be the quality of life people are left with. I don't know if people are going to want to go through their lives feeling right on the edge of nausea forever. I don't think if they want to go through life and they can't celebrate and enjoy cake the way they did, or an Italian meal or pizza or whatever your favorite food is. I don't know. And I could be wrong. Maybe people won't give a shit, and that's fine too. I'm not sitting here saying one's right or the other, but I'm just trying to bring up a conversation about GLP-1s. You don't normally hear that perspective, and I think it's worth being considered. Uzo says, how come my brother can eat everything and not gain weight? We literally eat the same, and I'm obese. I hate to say it, Uzo, but I bet you literally don't eat the same. I hear that every single, I can't think of a person I've ever worked with who didn't think that they ate the same as someone else, and it's not fair. And by the end of us working together, they realized, no, they ate more. So I just, is it impossible? I guess nothing's impossible, but it's extremely unlikely that you and your brother are eating the same amount and you're obese and he's at his normal weight. I would I would bet $1 million that's not the case. Just so you know. You don't literally eat the same. Stop telling yourself that because it's blinding you to how you're, where and when you're eating more than him. And by the way, because I think this is an important conversation, because most dieters walk around with some story like this. Oh, I wish I was thin. Oh, my friend, they eat whatever they want. And they don't gain any weight. That's one of the most toxic, disempowering, sabotaging beliefs and ideas you can have. And it's not true. If it was true, then GLP-1s wouldn't be effective, folks. GLP-1s do not magically change your metabolism so that you're eating the same and then now you're just losing weight. They cause it so that you feel kind of nauseous, right below nauseous and full. And so you just don't eat as much. And so your consumption goes down and your weight goes down. Your weight always goes down when you consume less food. You know? So I would change that real quick, Uzo. You literally do not eat the same. That's a tough pill to swallow. I've had to deliver this pill to many people. But again, that's why I take the no bullshit oath. I'm not going to bullshit you, and I will tell you difficult things sometimes. And I know that's a difficult thing once in a while. But to me, it's not a mean thing, I'm not trying to call you a liar. It's just the way our brains work. Our brain is constantly deleting, distorting, and generalizing information. Deleting is one of the big ones. And so I don't for a second think you're lying. I don't think you think you're lying to me at all. I truly believe, Uzo, that you believe you eat the exact same as your brother. I believe that. But I'm here to say that it's almost guaranteed that you do not eat the same as your brother. You're eating more than your brother. And to me, I would rather recognize that and see that and then be able to correct it than walk through life with the mistaken belief that, well, I'm eating the same and I'm just way overweight. I have never seen that to be the case. Unless there's some real physical thing maybe that's going on. But the vast majority of people I see, oh, I don't know, I don't eat any more than them. And then once they start paying attention, they realize, no, they do eat more than them, which again is a wonder. That's the best case scenario because then you can fix it. So Mary says, how do you personally monitor your food intake? Is it calories? No, I personally, the way I use and the way I suggest people do it is I'm going to use the word. I want to make it clear. I'm not talking about intuitive eating. I want to make that crystal clear, but I am going to use the word intuitive. Okay. From a whole separate angle. I personally like to eat intuitively. What's that mean? I think if you start focusing on how you eat first, right? So the first step in Program Yourself, then we have the eating section of the pyramid. And the very first part is awareness. So the first step is to understand your current eating patterns. We all have eating patterns that we follow over week to week, pretty much. And what I want to do is I want to notice those patterns. Then I will look at those patterns and I will start optimizing them. So let's just say, well, I will give you my own personal example. I used to eat breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. Okay. And so what I did is I became aware of that. And I said, I'm going to work on reducing and then eliminating the nighttime snacking. And so I began to work on reducing and eliminating nighttime snacking. Then I go and work on snacking between lunch and dinner. Then work on cutting dinner down a little bit. And so I began to approach it that way. I never tracked calories. I tracked behavior. I tracked patterns. And so I think the best is probably combining those two, where you start to notice your patterns and then you track calories for a week or two just to get a sense of what the calorie loads are of what you're eating, just to clarify what you think the calories, where they're coming from, and to validate that. And then I would go into the idea, though, of building it around your patterns. So that's kind of how I do it. Jody says, not covering the GLP-1 at my job too, except for diabetes. Yeah, I mean, I think that's very quickly going to be passed right down the thing. So if you are on a GLP-1 non-diabetic prescription, yeah, I don't know. I would not feel very positive about the, moving forward. I would imagine there's a very good chance that insurance is not going to cover that. Okay. Is what I've seen. So I wish the best for you, but again, there's one more thing to take into account. Cash Fed says, did you ever change what you were eating? Oh yeah, I absolutely transformed what I eat. I changed what I eat, how I eat, when I eat. Yes, I changed all that. Over time though, too. I didn't change it all in one day. Again, the problem with dieting, you can't change something as big as eating just in one day. It's like, it would be great if you could, but you can't. I mean, you can for a little while, and then you go back to what you always do. But again, if you're looking to make a real long-term change in your eating, you've got to approach it systematically, strategically, you know? So. All right, there we go. Good. We got through all the questions. I'm going to get out of here. If you're not in my world, please make sure you go click the link in my bio, click the little picture of me, and then go to that link in my bio. If you're on TikTok, click the link I posted in Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. If you're there, go get the free hypnosis session I give you, because not only you get the free hypnosis session called the New Thin Me, it's a 10-minute kickstart session. You also get a training I gave you, 3 steps to master your weight. But this week as well, I'm giving you a thriving during Thanksgiving training. It's 5 minutes long, give you some really good strategies real quick. And there's a hypnosis session to go with it. Okay. So go check that out. It's all free. I will send the link out to the Thanksgiving stuff this afternoon, tomorrow, and Thursday. But if you're on my list, you'll get that. Okay. So go do that. If you like this, I'm here every Monday through Friday, usually around noon Eastern. If you want any questions, please get on here and ask them. I'm happy to help you out. And if you like listening to this and you can't make the live, you can go to any podcast platform and search Program Yourself Thin. It'll pop up and then you can listen to it anytime you like. All right. So have a super duper day and we will talk soon. Bye, everyone.